to St. Andrew the Apostle Catholic Church. I'm Greg Santacroce. I'm the music minister here. And we've got a great show for you tonight. I want to thank Bill White for giving us the chance to play host to such a great crowd of musicians this evening. That there's some audience participation this evening, so when the maestro turns around and looks at you, that means it's your turn to sing. Don't worry, we're not doing any weird songs. You'll know them, so you can just sing when he turns around. So I guess without further ado, I'll introduce the band, conducted by Dr. Mark Norman from the University of North Carolina School of the Arts in Winston-Salem.
And good afternoon and Merry Tuba Christmas to everyone. My name is Mark Norman. I am a tuba player, yes, and I turned to the dark side of conducting. I can't tell you when, but it was sometime about 3 decades ago or so forth. But it's certainly my pleasure to be here today, and I want to thank everybody involved, especially Bill, for bringing me in. This is a wonderful treat. This is actually my 28th Tuba Christmas, being a tuba player, yes, playing and conducting. I've done it in Chicago, in New York, in Baltimore, in DC, everywhere. But the most that I've done it is in North Carolina. And so we're going to talk about the history of Tuba Christmas and about it after this next song. But again, thank you guys for singing with us. Make sure you raise your voice, joyful noise, as we say. So if you would, do the same thing here with Deck the Hall.
we decided that early on, before y'all get too comfortable and start to like settle in and get maybe a little sleepy, we talk about the history of TubaChristmas. So I know a little bit about it, but there's a lot. It's been going on since '74, so there's a lot of history. And so I'll just give you a few highlights. Bill asked me to do this because I studied with Bill Bell back in 1967 through 1971. And TubaChristmas was started by one of his students to honor him. Mr. Bell was born on Christmas Day, so Christmas was the time to honor him. And so Mr. Bell's student, who is Harvey Phillips, who succeeded him in Indiana and is a really wonderful organizer of things. Harvey got this thing started, and he knew Alec Welder, so he got Alec to arrange Christmas carols for this ensemble. And the arrangements are, I've been playing these since probably about '76, and I never get tired of them. I just do them, once a year, but they're good arrangements. And then Norm Bewley wrote some more arrangements later on. And so we're privileged to have a really nice book. There it is. And you all might want to buy one on the way out there. Because there's a lot of history about Mr. Bell, about TubaChristmas, Mr. Bell. So I'll tell you just a few personal things about history, and then I'll go sit down so you hear some more music. I was in high school in '67. I thought, man, I would like to play the tuba in an orchestra someday. That would be really cool. The Meistersinger, the Valkyrie, there's some good tuba. So, sure, I'll go to school, I'll learn how to do that, and then I'll get a job in one of these orchestras like New York Philharmonic, And, so I wrote to the tuba player in New York, Joe Novotny, I think his name was, and in pencil, Mr. Novotny, I'd like to play tuba in orchestra. Where should I go to college? And Mr. Novotny actually wrote back in about 2 weeks, which is pretty amazing. And he said, young man, you need to go to Indiana University and study with Mr. Bill Bell. And so I did. And I'm glad I did. He was a fine man, fine man. And one other thing I'll tell you is that we started doing TubaChristmases here in the Triangle in 1976, I think somebody said. David Lewis, who was the tuba player in the NC Symphony. Is David here? Darn, he would love this. But anyway, he did that event. And then after that, it kind of fell to the wayside. A few years later, the Triangle Tuba Quartet, which I get to play in, we organized a Christmas tuba event at the airport. And we played at the airport for many years. And we usually had about half as many players. And one of us, Paul, I think, would direct. And we were in the parking garage. Okay? So people would go by with their suitcases and they'd stop and listen for a song or two, and they kind of started to smile. And then a couple of years later, they thought we were pretty good. We'll let them play at the baggage claim. And that was better because I was indoors. And so there's lots more history. There's pictures out there, and these people know a lot. They can all tell you their own history of TubaChristmas. Altogether, I suppose we've played at several hundred TubaChristmases. So on the way out, ask anybody, and then we'll give you some more history. We can go online, of course.
Thank you, Jack. I can tell you personally, there are lots of stories from TubaChristmas. Ask me about the one in Inner Harbor in Baltimore, and I'll explain. Great. So we're going to play a set of 3 songs for you next. And again, we would love to hear your voices, even more of your voices. We're going to start off with God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, then the First Noel, and then finish this set with It Came Upon a Midnight Blue. TubaChristmas is a great time for all ages of musicians to get together. And our group has quite the wide range of performers. So I have done Tuba Christmas. I remember my first one, I was 13 years old, the first time I did it, when Dave Lewis had his Tuba Christmas in Greensboro, which he did for many, many, many years. And it was picked up later by Dennis Askew, both of which had taught at UNC Greensboro. So it ran there for a long, long time. And so that's when I got to do it. I remember the youngest person there at that point was like 6 years old. Not much younger than him. Anyway, so, and the oldest person was a tuba player who was 88 years old. And they sat right next to each other. That was really cool. So today we have a pretty wide range as well. I think if you would you please raise your hand if you are under the age of 20? Under the age of 15? Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 12.
12 years old. Would you raise your hand if you're over the age of 50? 55? 60? 65? And 70? Yes. That's quite the range. And it's not many things in really in our society where you get to have such a wide range of ages and lots of different generations participating in the same activity. So Tuba Christmas really does bring a lot of people together. We also bring, a lot of people travel and play at different Tuba Christmases. Like I've mentioned, I've played in the one in Chicago. I also conducted one in Kansas City that had no line, 800 tuba and euphonium players. It was so big that they put us in the Kansas City Symphony Hall, their concert hall. And instead of putting them on the stage, the audience was all tuba players. And that's where all the tuba players sat, and the audience was actually up in the balcony watching them, so it was pretty incredible. But we were talking about this earlier, like who's traveled, so how many guys have traveled from more than 10 miles, more than 20 miles, more than 50 miles, more than 100 miles, more than, wait for it, 150 miles. And you guys are from where? Richmond, Virginia. So again, it's just a wonderful opportunity for us all to get together, and we all share this bond that we play these instruments. And so again, and you can hear it's such a warm, beautiful sound. And that's really the reason when people ask me, why did you switch from trumpet to tuba? I said, well, the sound. The sound is the reason why. And so I think you can hear it's just a beautiful, homogeneous sound. It's really wonderful. So we're going to play another piece for you. This is Old Oak Town of Bethlehem.
Thank you.